Okay, thanks for stopping by. So what I'm about to show you has nothing to do with van life. This is our friend Phil from the YouTube channel Wings of Pegasus. Make sure you subscribe to him. And he is going to show you the sad thing that's happening in the music industry today.
We're stopping off directly over these lines.
This passion inside, can't run from myself. There's nowhere to hide.
And now we get to this part.
Did you hear that? Did you hear the compression kick in? So what Phil is about to explain to you is the manipulation that's taking place in singing competitions. The voices you hear on shows like The X Factor is not the natural voice of the singer.
So, to cut a long story short, for this particular competition, where they've got professional singers all competing against each other, we're listening to a pitch-corrected vocal. And it's reached the point now where I don't really know what to think anymore about anything, because
I don't know what to think about anything anymore either, Phil. This is not only happening with singing voices, this is also happening with guitarists. Say when you bend that note up like Stevie Ray used to do, Jimi Hendrix used to do, and hit that perfect pitch. Well, you don't really have to do that anymore. You don't have to be a great guitarist anymore. You just got to look cool, and the studio will take care of everything for you.
Prize at the end is to get a record deal, with Simon Cowell's label, if we're talking about the X Factor. And you can understand from that financial perspective that Simon Cowell will say, well, I want this kind of singer because I haven't got that kind of singer on my label. So it would obviously make sense to pitch correct somebody's voice that you want to win the competition to sound better than other contestants.
Okay, so this is a contestant named Jessie J, a beautiful young lady with a really good voice, but they've got her pitch corrected to a point where they're actually comparing her with Whitney Houston, which may be the GOAT. I mean, come on. And Phil is going to get a little deeper into this in a minute. He's going to take a studio track from Whitney's version of this song, which was not pitch corrected. It is studio recorded, but you'll see the difference.
Is in this case Jessie J, who's an amazing singer, and pitch correct her voice on a show that is supposed to be about professional singers. So they've already got past the point of learning to sing and maybe wanting to do it as a career. They've already got past that and they've had a successful career themselves. So we already know that they can sing really well. So why this incessant tuning of the voice to A440 standard pitch, equal temperament? You can see it clear as day that we are being calibrated to these lines. Look at this up here. The D5 absolutely over that line. Yeah, and there you go.
Yeah, there you go is right. There's no fluctuation. That is humanly impossible. You'll see once we get to the clip of Whitney's voice, which was not pitch corrected. And the beauty of the voice is the natural fluctuation between the flat and the sharp.
Shouldn't have to be edited at all, because it's not like somebody who can't sing or is not very good having to be edited to sound better. This is a professional competition, because this is setting the bar at an impossible level for singers that might watch Jessie J or be a fan of hers and think, oh, she's got an amazing voice. Let's see how accurate her voice is. Oh, she's always over these lines. Let me try and do that. And they'll realise that they can't do that. And that Jessie J can't do this. It's a mechanical manipulation of the voice.
Mechanical manipulation of the voice. That's what he just said. And this is what's airing on the contest show. So you're not really hearing the voice of the contestant. And that's just what's so wrong about the whole thing. Now I'm going to fast forward through and we're going to do the comparison clips from Jessie to Whitney. And it's remarkable. Check this out.
Say, for example, that a human voice could do this. It can't, but just in case it could, it still wouldn't be the most accurate place to be. Because of, expression and microtones being outside of these lines. That's where expression lives. but just how sound works. And equal temperament, it is not an accurate system. It's something that we've invented to try and make every note in every octave equal. The clue's in the name of it, equal temperament.
Okay, so the Whitney clip is coming up, I promise. But the worst thing about this is for the young singers and the young guitarists and the young musicians out there, listening to this music on the radio, not realizing it's unachievable to hit that note the way it sounds. And, sometimes the way that note sounds, it has no expression, has no soul, it has no mojo. And music is all about mojo and soul and expression. So let's move it on to the Whitney clip.
There's no way that a human voice would do this, would hit so many lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, technically 8, but even if we're just counting 7, going from the best, I would say probably the best of all time, hitting 2 or 3, to then 7. And, I'm just going to put on screen, and I'll have to change the screen to see it. I want to put on screen the original by Whitney Houston. I'll just let this play through a little bit.
My life, take me forward.
And technically, straight away, you'd say that Whitney was sharp here. And just for reference, this is a studio recorded vocal by Whitney Houston. It's not a live vocal. So that means that they spent quite a lot of time on this, getting a particular feel to it and deciding, which of the takes that she might have done were the best take, or even, taking little sections of one take and another take. I want to try and get to a held note so you can see the difference between the pitch corrected vocal on the left, and here we go. So this is Whitney Houston's studio vocal, and look at where it is on the right hand side. It's above the A4. It's clearly not on that line, and here the A4 is perfectly over the line. So this is what you'll see, is that a natural vocal very rarely, especially holding a note, is over this line, and sometimes it'll be on the line and then drift a little bit flat, drift a little bit sharp. It's never calibrated perfectly to a line.
Okay, so let me jump in here. When Phil says over the line, what he means is covering the line. He doesn't mean sharp. He doesn't mean above the line when he says over the line. He just means covering the line, covering the note exactly.
When you have a note that is perfectly over this line on the right hand side, it's not being calibrated to anything. That's just where the singer has decided to place that particular pitch or frequency. So when she then doesn't hit a line like this, it means that this now has a different expression to this. So it's giving you something different, because you're not hearing these lines. You're not hearing, oh, directly over the line. Oh, that was sharp of the line. Or, when you're listening to a vocal performance, all we're doing is taking in the expression of the note. And if they're all over the lines all the time, you get the same expression from every single note. But if you get a variation, which happens in a natural voice, when it is over the line, guess what? It doesn't sound pitch corrected or auto-tuned because of all the other things that are surrounding it.
Okay, so when he says other things surrounding it, what he's talking about is the music, the bass, the drums, the piano, the violins, the guitars. So that has to blend with the vocalist.
And as we move things forward, here again, really calibrated here, but here slightly sharp down to the line, slightly sharp at the end. This one hasn't been given freedom to go anywhere.
You hear that? Hasn't been given freedom to go anywhere. That was Jesse's voice on the left graph and Whitney's on the right. And they were identical almost, but Whitney's was not manipulated mechanically.
Yeah, perfect example there, with Whitney holding that note sharp of the A4, and Jessie J's was again directly over the line, and the A sharp 4 directly over the line. So yeah, I mean, there's no way that this is anything other than manipulated on the left hand side. It's just always going to be a little bit of freedom here, so this might have been a natural note. But again, you can say, well, how do you know what is somebody's actual voice when it's been so heavily manipulated that it's always over these lines on the left-hand side. And again, Whitney here slightly flat and then went up to it. Having that slight variation in the voice is absolutely normal. And again, here, slightly flat and ascending. So, yeah, and again, just calibrated to the A4 on the left-hand side. Yeah, it's clear on the left-hand side that we're absolutely calibrated. But the thing for me is what this has come from, that it's a singing competition for professional singers, and the audience aren't even allowed, when you're watching this show, to hear their actual voices.
Okay, stop. That says it all for me. You're not even allowed to hear the natural voice of someone in a singing competition now because of this pitch correction stuff. They're doing the same thing with violins, guitars, saxophones, clarinets, you name it. And, I'll probably never do a video like this again, but I've been on this crusade of keeping it real lately. And this is one of the things that's near and dear to my heart. I love music. I love instruments, and I love live music, and I just thought it'd be a great idea to expose just how phony everything has become. So with that being said, let's wrap it up. Stay positive, keep it real, take care, be well, and smash the bell.